Welcome to Speakers Tribe TV, and on this amazing Monday, wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for tuning in. You know, TV, all we want to do is to really help you on this journey to be a recognized influencer, to upgrade your speaking skills. And that's exactly what we have in store for this episode. Guys, we are super excited about Speakers TV because not only are we bringing to you some of the best speakers, trainers to really help you to upgrade your skill set in speaking, but also we really want to help you on your journey. And wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for tuning in. Amazing Monday. Why not start Monday with learning from the best in the world? Because that's exactly what we'll bring to you. And my encouragement to you, if you haven't already, make sure you join us on any of our social media, Speakers Institute, Speakers Tribe, Speakers TV. It's all on there. We cannot wait to hear how this episode has really helped you and impact to your success. Welcome to episode Monday.
So have we got a treat for you this afternoon? There are 3 speakers that are about to inspire you and take you through a journey. Our first speaker is Australian Entrepreneur of the Year twice, being the runner-up of the Internet of the Year, founder Retailer of the Year. Now this guy, a really good friend for over the last 10 years with them. He's just a note speaker. He's someone that if I was to grow up to be, I want to be like. Please welcome to the stage, Brad Smith.
Well, thank you guys for having me here. You know, I'm here because 10 called from some crazy guy who had a strange walk and a very loud voice. And he said, I want to go on tour. And Sam had just done a tour of Tasmania, speaking around at all the schools in Tassie, and he rang me up and said that he wanted to do another lap, and he asked if I'd come with him. And at the time, I definitely hadn't done much speaking. You know, I was the kid at school that if I got an award at school, I'd pretend that I wasn't there type thing. So Sam believed in me and asked me to come on this tour with him. And he said, Brad, if you could talk to the kids about getting a clean adrenaline rush, you know, and being safe, like that type of thing as young people, that'd be awesome. So, you know, I did all my prep and got ready and, you know, spent the weeks getting excited for Sam and Brad to tour together. It'd be heaps of fun, and I knew that I'd grow a lot. And I'd also organised to take some bikes, because, you know, Sam is not going to do anything normal. He said, take some bikes and we'll do some tricks, the kids up and get their attention, and then we'll speak. So, you know, I had the vans loaded, the bikes ready, everything. Except on the Sunday before we were going to start, I had a race, and I crashed and I broke my leg. So I remember just being in hospital on the bed and the guys plastering up my leg while I'm on the phone to Sam to say, can I still do this safety course, this safety talk while I'm on crutches? No problem. Like, we'll go, we'll do it, we'll make it happen. And Sam turned up at my house on the Monday at about 6 a.m. And the van that had all the gear in it was a manual van. So of course I'm in plaster on crutches, so I hand Sam the keys, and Sam looks at me and goes, I can't drive this thing. So I had to go wake my mum up and say, Mum, can you drive Sam and I around all these schools today? And of course, Mum's amazing, and she said yes. And anyway, so I had my leg on this side of the dash, and Sam had his leg on this side of the dash, and Mum's driving us to these schools, and it was an awesome time. But that was 10 years ago, so Sam's definitely getting old. But no, I really am grateful to Sam and Kate. They've believed in me unbelievably. And, you know, I haven't really identified myself, you know, or seen myself as a speaker, but Sam did. You know, I didn't really think that I had a story that anyone cared about, but Sam did. And I think you can all relate to that. So that's really why I'm here. I believe in what you guys are doing. I believe in Sam and Kate, and I'm just so grateful to them as mentors and as friends. So I'm going to share a bit about my story. And, you know, it's kind of my hope that while I share my story, you kind of reflect on your story. I don't think today I'm going to help you be a better speaker. I don't think today I'm going to be the best speaker here, but I do believe I've got a story that's different. And I hope that you can draw something off it. And I hope that today matters to us. And, I didn't come from a rich family. My parents, they grew up in government housing. Mum and dad both quite poor, but when they got together, they decided that their kids wouldn't have a life like that, that they'd fight for their marriage, they'd fight for their children, and they'd parent with intent. And thank God that they did. My sister and I grew up in an amazing home. Not a wealthy home, not a rich home, but an amazing home. And if that's the only thing you take from today, I think that's enough. But my parents didn't let Sheridan and I, my sister, miss out at all, even though I had a very expensive hobby, which was motorcycling. And I was obsessed with the motorcycle. From before I could even remember, I'd be nagging my dad, when can I learn to ride that bike? And my dad said to me as a young fellow, he said, Brad, you can learn to ride the motorcycle as soon as you've mastered the BMX. He goes, you've got to master the BMX, and then I'll give you the motorcycle, you can learn to ride. So my goal became for that year to master that BMX and prove the motorcycle. And actually in our family, goal setting was a huge part of growing up. Every New Year's Day, Mum would sit us down and she'd get us all the things that we've done and achieved for the year past, and all the things, the goals, the vision for the year ahead. It's kind of culture in our family to sit down and be intentional about where we put our energy and time. And we got obsessed with that. And of course, my goal for that year was to prove to Dad that I'd mastered the BMX. So you can imagine I get home from our family camping trip where we've set our goals and we set up for the year, and I'm desperate to ride this dirt bike, and I'm thinking, how on earth am I going to prove Dad that I'm ready? And I'm thinking, and I saw that our driveway is quite steep, and then we have a flat area and then another sort of slant down. I thought if I get our little ramp, come down on the bicycle and jump the ramp, Dad will be like, I'm ready. And I thought, just to prove that I'm ready, I'm going to get my 4 cousins and I'm going to lay them in front of the ramp. So you can imagine ambitious young Brad pedaling that bicycle down that hill, and my cousins, I don't know if they're believing or naive, I'm not sure. But thank God no cousins were hurt. Actually, I have a photo here to show you guys. Oh, we've lost it here. I do have a photo somewhere. So that is definitely my favourite cousin on the end there. But no, I learned to ride the motorcycle, and the motorcycle became a huge part of my life. It became a teacher for me, really. Everything I learned as a young bloke really somehow related back to my ambition to become a great motorcyclist. And that was my vision, to work out how to become a high level or a professional motorcyclist. As a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, I was obsessed with that. But as I got a bit older and I started to get a bit better, I also became more aware that my sport put huge pressure on our family, especially financially. Again, Mum and Dad weren't rich by any means, but they worked their butts off so my sister and I never missed out, and we didn't. But my sport was also a lot of travel, and I just started to get hungry to work out how am I going to make this sport into something that can be my passion, but also my platform and my pathway. And it got a bit better, a bit older, and Mum and Dad started to acknowledge that, maybe we'll have a bit of a crack at this. And when I was 13, Mum and Dad sat my sister and I down and said, we're going to go on our first family holiday. We're going to load up our little white Ford Econovan. We're going to drive from Launceston in Tasmania, where I grew up, catch the Spirit of Tasmania to Melbourne, then we're going to drive to Sydney, and we're going to have a holiday, going to have an adventure. And you can imagine my sister and I are so excited. We're going on a holiday, and the day that we're loading all our stuff into the van, we're putting our clothes and all our, just everything you want to take on a travelling road trip. And Mum came down and she said, Brad, while we're in Sydney, the Australian Junior Motocross titles are going to be held. And she goes, Brad, so put your bike in the van, you're going to be racing the Nationals. So now you can imagine. I am pumped and scared. But we put the bike in and we headed up towards Sydney. And there's 800 kids who race at the Australian Junior Motocross titles. So you can imagine how many bikes and vans and trucks and people. And I'm fresh out of Tasmania where there's 50 people who turn up to the biggest race event. And we drive in our little white dented Econovan, and we get parked next to this kid. He's got a semi-truck laid out here. He's got 6 brand new dirt bikes in front of it. He's got a nutritionist. He's got a mechanic. He's got a fitness coach. You know, we park next to Richie freaking Rich. And here we are, and I'm just walking through the pits, just drooling, just so intrigued with how do these people have what they have? You know, because my parents worked their butts off. They couldn't have physically worked an extra hour in the week. Yeah, we didn't have that. And we were under a lot of pressure. And it was a massive stretch to get there. And I was so curious. I said, Mum, how on earth, like, how do they do this? And Mum taught me a lesson that sparked me and stuck with me. She said, Brad, these people don't have what they have because they worked harder than us. These people have what they have because they've worked smarter than us. And I thought, Mum, that's a good one. You know, I thought I'd get obsessed with how do I work harder at becoming smarter? You know, what do I need to do to become the person that I want to become? My parents were amazing at facilitating that. You know, I'd read Rich Dad, Poor Dad overnight. We'd listen to Tony Robbins on the way to school. You know, we got obsessed with how do we become the version of ourselves we want to become. And again, I got a little bit older, I got a little bit better, and I decided that I wanted to turn motorcycling into that business, into that platform, into something that could be my passion, but also be my pathway. So I thought I'm going to have to get ready to pounce when opportunity comes my way. And isn't it important to be prepared to pounce? So I thought I've got to get smart, that's for sure, and you know, got obsessed with learning and reading and that type of thing. But also thought I've got to save some money up. So as a 13-year-old kid, I got, you know, just into anything I could to save some money up. Mowed lawns for all the old ladies in the street, and I still love that because they paid in both money and food. And they still bring the food today. I sold posters on eBay. I had anything I could do entrepreneurially. I sold these posters, I imported calculators, and this was my favourite one. Because in our high school, the year that I was in grade 8, the school hadn't found out what a graphics calculator is yet. You guys know a graphics calculator is pretty much a computer. So me and my best mate worked out that we could pre-program the answer to the maths test in the calculator and then sell them to all the kids at school at twice the price. And we sold out. And our school had unbelievable results that year. But I just did whatever I could to save some money up. You might see me get teased. I pushed trolleys for Woolworths. And actually, they asked me to go on a TV ad a few years ago. And they wanted to talk about people who'd got their start at Woolworths. And I did this 20-minute TV ad just talking nice, general, safe stuff. And then as I was finishing, I was taking my helmet off and talking to Mum, who was in the room too, and said I forgot to tell them that I was the Australian trolley pushing champion. And that's the only bit they put on the TV ad. So I'm the self-proclaimed Australian trolley pushing champion. But you know, just did whatever I could to get prepared to pounce for when opportunity came my way. Get smart, get ready, get mentors, get some money ready, and then wait for that opportunity. And isn't that the hardest time? When you feel like you're ready, you got the vision, everything's coming together, but you know, you just haven't quite found that platform. That's a big thing we're going to talk about today. I hope it's a subtle thing we talk about, but a major thing, which is the difference between our platform and our purpose. I think this room, people like myself and you, are full of ambition. One of the biggest risks we have is that we mix our platform and our purpose up. And maybe that can come up in Q&A, but you know, I had to wait for that platform. What's this specific opportunity that I'm going to be able to turn motorcycling, my passion, into my pathway? And I waited and waited and waited, and then after 2 years of saving, I finally found this new version of our sport, and it was so exciting. It was smaller bikes. It was kind of like BMX on steroids. So all the American guys would buy, you know, kids' bikes and then hot them up to make them strong enough for adults. And while I'm getting pumped on this sport and seeing all my racing idols were doing this for fun, and like everyone who was anyone in motorcycling was getting into this new type of riding. I thought, that's so cool. And then this new event came out, which was the world title for super light motorcycles. So they're going to hire out a stadium in Las Vegas and have like BMX type track where all the professionals could come and race this. And as an amateur, you could pay to go and race against your childhood heroes. I was so pumped. And while I'm watching this and reading this, I made two massive decisions. The first one was that I was going to do whatever it took to get myself to America to race as soon as I turned 21. And I was 16, so I had a few years to worry about getting to the States. But The second thing was that I thought that this type of motorcycling could be used to make our sport more accessible and more affordable so more people could experience and be involved in what I love and our family loved about motorcycling. So I became obsessed with that. Now, how am I going to find the bike? The bikes in America were custom built. They were worth 10 or 15 grand. It took a long time to build. You had to have a lot of knowledge. We wanted to get something that was ready to go off the showroom floor, was fully affordable and could still compete with that quality. So I did some research, and anything same thing you got to do to research any product. And I'm emailing, I'm calling, I'm finding a supplier, and I finally found this guy in China, and he promised me that he could build a bike that could compete with the Americans but be affordable. So I got excited again, and I transferred my money across to the other side of the world to a Chinese company I still can't pronounce the bloody name of. And I waited for 8 weeks for my first 10 bikes to arrive. And that's the most exciting time in business, I reckon. When you've got the seed, you've got started, it's all upside. There's no problems at that point. It's all vision. And I waited for those 10 bikes, and they finally turned up at my house. And of course, I didn't have a warehouse, so the truck has to turn up at our residential address. And because I didn't have a warehouse, I also didn't have a forklift. So truck driver had to help me get all these bikes off his truck and drag them down our driveway. And I got 10 boxes lined up with my motorcycles in them. And I'm so excited. I've made the brand to be black with magenta, so it could be different, totally unique. And I'm so excited to show my family and my friends and see it myself of what we've been working on. And I open the lid on the first box and I look in, and it's a yellow motorcycle. These motorcycles are not what I'd ordered, and over the next few days I realised the bikes that turned up were nothing like the bikes that I'd ordered, nowhere near strong enough for adults to ride and the racing and everything that we had planned. And our real vision and mission was to help young people to get a clean adrenaline rush through movement, through motorcycling, rather than from drugs, crime, violence, and some of the evils of our world. So I was so excited. We had tracks set up, coaches organised, events planned, everything that now we couldn't do. I had to find the right owner for the right bike. They were only good enough for 5-year-old kids to ride. So by the time I'd done the fitting and everything home for the right bike, it took a year to sell those first 10 bikes. And I lost all my money. I lost a year. I was pretty beat up, but I hadn't lost the vision. And I kind of felt possessed by this vision. But if this is going to happen, if we are really going to make a motorcycle that's affordable, accessible, but could compete with the Americans, then I need to get myself on a plane and I need to go to China and meet the factories face to face and find someone to partner with me. And I decided I'm going to do that the day I turn 18. So I had about a year to save up. Just all the things I did before, save, save, save. And the day I turned 18, I booked my ticket to China, and man, I was so naive. Isn't naive ambition a beautiful thing? Never been outside of Tasmania without mum or dad. Never been to China, sure as hell couldn't speak Chinese. And also I had quite a she'll be right attitude in that I thought I'll bookmark everything, interpreters once I get to China. So you've got to picture me, a kid, an 18-year-old kid with a peroxide blonde mullet, a hood up at Hong Kong airport, and it's still pretty well. These brands you've seen, like I had to catch a bus and a train 3 or 4 hours into southern regional China to the motoring district, and I got there and I got off this bus, and I realised the world's biggest trade fair was being held in this city the time I had to go there. There's 2 million visitors going through the city. So there's no accommodation anywhere and no interpreters, and I don't speak a word of Chinese. So I'm way out of my comfort zone at this point. And thank God I met this guy who offered to be my interpreter, and he took me for 2 weeks. And he said to me, "Where do you need to go? What's the plan here?" And I said, "We're here to find a manufacturer. I want to go to as many factories as we could find, and then on the last day, which was the 14th day, I want to go back to the best factory, and we're going to choose to do business with them." And he said, "No worries." I said, "How many factories are here?" He said, "There's a lot." He said, "There's over 500 registered. There's probably 800 total." I said, "No worries." So we set the calendar up like the amazing here, plane there, train there, taxi there, fly there. Like we were just like in and out type thing. Breakfast meeting, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner. Sometimes 2 or 3 factories at a time, like getting them to pitch us. This was the vision we set up. And I remember driving to the first factory, and man, that's a nerve-wracking experience. All this stuff finally coming to the point where I get to interview the factory. Because remember, I'm there to see as many factories as I can to choose which one we're going to do business with. And I get to this factory, and as we're driving into the driveway, I realised I had no idea what a motorcycle manufacturing plant looked like. Never seen one. Not a Google, not an image, nothing. And this one here was 4 stories. It produced 16,000 motorcycles per month. And I had to go to the top floor to meet the owner, who was a shorter Chinese man. And he came out and he shook my hand and couldn't see fingers from all the gold rings on his hand. Had this massive desk, really intimidating. Had 2 interpreters with him and my interpreter. And I sat down and I shared the vision. You know, spoke about how we weren't just trying to build a motorcycle for the sake of motorcyclists, but to create new motorcyclists. Shared the vision behind it all. Talked about the components and the frame and the chassis and what we were trying to do. And at the end of it, he stood up and he slammed his hand on the desk and he goes, "I love it." Of course, in Chinese. He goes, "I love it." He goes, "How much money do you have to invest?" I was like, "I have no money." He goes, "So you have no money?" He goes, "What's your distribution channel?" He goes, "How many units can you guarantee to sell and buy for us over the next 2 years?" And I'd never heard of the term distribution channel. He goes, "So you got no money, you got no distribution network." He goes, "What's your engineering experience? How are you going to engineer the motorcycle for our factory?" And of course, I had no engineering experience. So he laughed me out of the office. He goes, "We're not willing to take a risk on an 18-year-old kid who's got no money, no engineering experience, no idea how he's going to sell the bike." You know, and in fairness to him, an 18-year-old kid who was so naive that he had no idea how much it cost to produce that bike. And just for the plastics, you know, like the guard on a motorcycle, the front and rear guard and the petrol tank, just for the plastic components, before you actually get to touch a bit of plastic for the molds and for the designs, was over $1 million for this bike that I'd dreamed up. And I'd pitched that we'd build 7 versions. So of course the second factory, the third factory, the fourth factory, the 5th factory laughed me out of their office. And you guys know what it's like. You know, when you've got a vision, you've got a dream and you get laughed out of the office, you kind of got 2 options. You can listen to it and adjust, or you can listen to it and go back. And you know, I knew that I could come home to Tasmania and people would congratulate me for giving it my best shot and stepping way outside of my comfort zone and, you know, doing all this different stuff and, you know, having a big vision and chasing after. I knew that people would congratulate me and encourage me in that. But I didn't go to China to come home and be congratulated for trying. I went to China to find a motorcycle, to build a motorcycle and to come home with a motorcycle. I said to my interpreter, "How many factories are there actually here?" He goes, "I reckon there's 800. I said, "Well, we're not going home until 800 of them have laughed us out of their office." And my interpreter said, "Okay." And we went to the 10th factory, the 20th factory, the 30th factory. I think my interpreter started to think I was mad at the 40th factory, the 50th factory. They got laughed at over 50 factories. And fair enough too, I was so naive, had no idea what I was doing, just having a real red hot crack. And you know, I think that persistence pays. You guys would relate to that so well in your business. I think it's so important to understand sometimes there's so many no's on the way to the yes that we need. And that's a massive lesson I learned through that. And thank God we stuck to it, because the channel, the plan that I had definitely didn't work. But who would have thought that I'd run into 2 young French guys, not at a factory, not at a trade stall, just run into 2 young French guys who were just a touch older than me at the time. They'd just moved to from France to China with financial support from their wealthy families and had one dream: to build a unique motorcycle. They had a factory, they had a production line, they had everything but the vision. They needed someone to partner with to make the bike, someone to partner with to work out how to sell the bike, and they decided to take a risk on me. Isn't it amazing how the perfect partners sometimes just fall into our lap when persistence is the payment we make? Thank you. Thank you. You know, that was naive ambition. I don't think it was unbelievably honourable at that point, because there was not a lot to lose other than full going for it and the hustle. And, you know, I have a bit of a caveat on that story, because I think that in this room, in an ambitious room, that the risk is not how hungry we are. The risk is not, are we going to be successful? The risk is actually, what are we willing to sacrifice to become successful? And I just really want to remind that these days when I tell the story, I want to remind you that you're first a husband or a wife, you're first a mother or a father, and you're thirdly a worker. I see so many people at self-help, business, speaker type events that their career is unbelievable, but their home life is horrible. So I say that with a massive caveat that I believe in order. I believe in the hierarchy of you're first a son or daughter, you're second a husband or wife, you're third a mother or father, and then you're a worker, or however that works out in your life. But you know, for me, there's been a lot of success come from that bright story. We had a lot of awards, we had a lot of accolades. My book got published. I had over 100 speaking events per year, fully paid. It was going amazing. We won the world title, that race that I told you about in Las Vegas. We become the first production bike in history to win the world title, and we won it twice. We had dealers right around the country, over 45 dealers. We had distributors in America, Europe, people in Southeast Asia taking our bikes to their country to distribute. Unbelievable amount of success. It felt like for me, everything in my worldly vision board was coming true. And everything was moving in that right direction, making great money, and then we raised money on top of that to just strengthen our position. But then great challenge came on us. And I share this today really vulnerably because I think it's so important that if we're going to celebrate our success, we talk about the struggle to get there. And this is where I think it's so important to differentiate between our purpose and our platform, because you guys are going to be tested on this stage and by having a profile. You guys are going to be tempted by having this stage and this profile. And above all else, you're going to be trusted. So it's so important to make sure that your life is built on order so your word can be trusted. And for me, I've had unbelievable challenge. We had allegations made against us legally by competitors to the police. They picked it up, they wrote media releases, this was 3.5 years ago, and they absolutely shredded our credibility. We had over 45 dealers that we had to just let go because we were restricted while they went through the legal process that took 3 years. We had 35 staff we had to lay off. Unbelievable challenge. They were threatening us with jail, they were calling us all these things in the media, and we still haven't given any defence in the media. I don't normally talk about it unless it's a private location like this type of thing where it's not media driven. And I just think it's so important to remember that the better you get, the more challenge is going to come your way. The better you get and the better your message gets, the more of an attack the enemy is going to have on you. And it's not logical. Our challenge, we didn't have this on our SWOT analysis, on our strategic planning, on our vision boards. This was not a logical attack. I think it's so important to put that in perspective, that that's going to happen in your life in some way. I hope it doesn't happen as intensely as our way, but it is going to happen. You are going to be attacked. You are going to be challenged. I think it's so important to build your life on purpose, not on the platform that you are to deliver your purpose through. Because it will come and go. It will be pruned and prospering. My motorcycle business has gone up and down massively over the last few years. We've been challenged. And praise God, we did survive. Only 2 weeks ago, we finished our legal case. We defended ourselves. We cleared our name. Thank you. Thank you. And it doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like we've been bruised and we've been battered and we've been beat down. And we had to work out how to get through. But I think it's so relevant to anyone who's having a crack in Australia, anyone who's having a crack and going somewhere, that you will probably have an attack come your way. So how are we going to prepare for that? And I believe that identity precedes purpose. Your purpose has to be driven out of your identity. You know, I believe the future of profit is aligned to purpose. You know, it's so pointless to be a speaker for the sake of attention or profit. So pointless to build a motorcycle business for the sake of growth or profit. I believe that the business and your stage up here and your microphone and your platform has the greatest ability to influence our society. And I think business owners, entrepreneurs and leaders have the greatest ability to do that. Look at our motorcycle business. We have profits we can influence with. We have people we can influence with. We have events we can influence with. We have property we can influence with. We have promotion we can influence with. It's so important for us to be responsible for the people that are put in front of us. And that's where I believe that it's even more important for us to differentiate between our platform and our purpose. You know, through all this time, I kept just asking the question on what's the point in all this stuff? What's the point in all this challenge? Why do we have this great business that's been so attacked? And all I could come back to is who's the person in front of us, who we're responsible for. And the more we got to fall in love with our customer and the purpose that this platform could be used for that customer, the more we realised that the average customer that comes to us is a 15 or 44-year-old male. They come to us because they see the motorcycle as freedom, as an escape, and then they find some identity in that motorcycle. And we don't believe that's the full truth or the best way to live your life. We believe it could be a band-aid, but this person that comes to us is the highest risk human in the country. Look at statistics of 15 to 44-year-old males, suicide #1 killer. We live in Melbourne, the most livable city in the world, where antidepressants are the second highest intake in the world. There's things wrong here, and these people come to us. So we had to constantly ask, what's the purpose? What's the point? How are we going to get through this? And I've got a few questions to ask you guys you can write down and think about, because I believe if you're given a platform like this, as I said, you're going to be tested, you're going to be tempted, but most importantly, you're going to be trusted with a community to speak to. And I believe it's important to make sure that we have a clean identity as we fulfill the purpose that we've been given. The first question to make sure I don't have an identity crisis that I had to wrestle with is, who's above all? That's an important wrestle to have and an important question to wrestle with. Who's above all? You are going to be tested. You are going to be tempted. And with this platform, you're going to have to make sure your beliefs are deeply rooted in something that is fact and true, not just emotional, experience-based and convenient. That's a massive wrestle to have when you get attacked. For me, it's only by the grace of God that we could survive all that challenge, and through having a defender and a saviour and being so full of hope and joy while we got challenged was only through my relationship with Jesus that I could do that. But every man has to wrestle that question. Every woman has to wrestle, who's above all? The second question is, who's above you? Now this is an interesting one, I think, because especially in this room, we have the guru age. You have someone to teach you about this, you have someone to teach you about this, you have someone over here, but I'm saying, who are you truly submitted to, who's willing to give you truth and love, not just pump your tyres up to encourage you? That's a massive weakness in rooms like this where we're all ambitious, because we love the hype, we love the pump up, but who's above you? Who's truly the person speaking truth into your life? The next one is, who's below you? Who's drawing from your life? Who are you training up? Who are you teaching up? Who are you influencing? The next one's, who's around you? So important, proximity. I do a thing called our proximity list, which is every couple of months, Madeline and I sit down and we work out who are the people that we've got to get around, go and have a coffee with, we've got to go and have dinner with, we've got to get around to learn what they're doing to play our game at a higher level. So who's around you? We also do that with friends as well. Like, who are our friends that we just love, even though they don't know our business, they're not on this journey with us, but they're just beautiful friends that just love us. We needed that so much through challenge. So the question is, who's around you? The next one is, who's in you? Like, what's your gifting and what's your personality? What's the individuality that you've been given? I think it's so important to play to the way we've been designed. And the next one's, who are you? Which is really a character question for me. If you look at history and study the great moves in history, the great moments in history, most of the time through history you can study it back to one man or one woman who had an absolute moral line that they wouldn't cross. They had absolutes. Their character was so strong. I think that's so important for us as we're trusted with this stage. Who are you? What's your character? The other one's, who's against you? This is one that I think is important. Doesn't mean we want to attack them. I think on our stage it's even more important to know who's against us so we can somehow make sure that we don't get in these battles. Like us, we had this massive battle with a competitor. I wish that 3 years before I saw this coming, I had known that, had identified that they were against us and that we could build bridges and we could somehow have, a mutual and healthy competition and work in forgiveness, not attacking each other. And I think if you can answer those questions and wrestle those questions out, then your risk of having an identity crisis and therefore a purpose crisis is highly alleviated. And I really encourage you guys to align your profit to purpose. For us, we've had to do that. We've had to get so serious about what's next, and we're building a thing called Block 53. And that is that we identified that this man, this person that is our biggest customer, 80% of our customer is that 15 to 44-year-old male. But where do they go? Where does this person go when challenge comes on and when prosperity comes on? And most of the time, males like that get together and their recreation doesn't end in righteousness, actually the opposite. So we felt responsible to build a place where righteous recreation could bring men together through motorcycling and gym classes and boxing and having a beer tasting session and having a coffee. We're building a facility where all this can happen. It's a social enterprise where we can donate the space to this social enterprise called Block 53, and our business could play one role in it. So our motorcycle business is unapologetically commercial and has no other agenda, but the social enterprise has a much deeper purpose. So my question I'll leave you on with that is, I hope that your speaking is one part of a much bigger puzzle, much bigger pie that you play. I feel like this is a great platform and a platform that can't be ignored, but what's the structure? What's the organisation that you can tap into to make sure that your profit is absolutely aligned to purpose? Thank you guys. I think we're going to have questions.
To share, I mean, how good the feeling was in the session. Feedbacks were just too good. So I mean, that is forcing me to think beyond. I think it was pretty linear thinking earlier, and now it is pretty diversified. So that is very helpful.
Thank you, Charlene, Christiane, and Sam, for obviously the benefit and the inspiration you've given to so many of us, and to all the participants. Because I think, for me personally, this is the first time I've felt that I've been in such a safe space to be vulnerable and to make mistakes. And I know that a lot of us have shared some really traumatic events in our life, possibly for the first time publicly. So that's just been a really huge thing. So thank you for everyone for opening up and for people to open up and be authentic.
I'd like to firstly acknowledge you, Sam. Thank you so much for instituting the Speakers Institute and all of the lovely people who've attended today. I think they've done an absolutely wonderful job. I think all of their stories are worthy of stage presence. I think you'll all go very far.
I just wanted to say, being out of the workforce for 6 years, looking after little kids, and this is the first course I've ever done, and it was astounding. It blew my mind. It was beyond my expectations, and thank you, Kate, today, and to back myself, because I didn't have that before, because when you leave for a while and you come back, it's all a bit dodgy. So thank you.
And it was really an experience which I was looking for, to give that push, the last push which is needed, because I'm very low on execution. So your story and your message gave me that push which I really needed. So thank you very much, and also to the fellow participant for bearing with me.
Thank you, everyone. You've all inspired me today, and I want to thank you, Sam, for putting this on, and Christiane and Charlene inspired me to come through conversations we had, and so I'd like to thank her in particular, and got a lot out of it. So thank you, everyone, and thanks for all the lovely comments.
My name is Sarah Cordner, and a long time ago I was one of the proteges. Now, back then I had absolutely no idea where I was going to go. I was an expert in my field, but I was working very much in the corporate space. I also had no followers on any social media accounts. I had no email list. I had no people anywhere on a database that was out there in the public market. But I knew that I needed and wanted to find and make the world. And I knew that the only way I'd be able to do that is to go out and start speaking, putting myself out there as an individual. And it was really confronting, because there's all these kind of things that we go through. Will people like me? Will people engage with me? Will anyone even care about what I have to say? Will people mock me? Will people criticize down by my competitors? So I had all of these worries, like in where I was going to start. Do I start with the logo, the website, the message, the thing, the branding, the story. It's all very, very overwhelming. So I want to reassure you guys that I was absolutely there. After going on Sam's program, I have gone on to win multiple awards. I have now got over 20,000 students in 146 countries. I have been listed by the Huffington Post as one of the top 50 must-follow female entrepreneurs. I've published 12 books, 5 of which have gone to international #1 bestseller. I recently was headhunted by a university and now hold the record for being the youngest university director in Australian history. And I have done all of this from working in the spare bedroom in my house. I now have a multi-million-dollar education company with children running around. And one of the things that I really want to make clear to other people is that everyone can do this. Every single person. I had no special starting point. I had no investors. I've never had anyone give me money. I absolutely have just started on the corner of a kitchen table with nothing but a dream, a drive, and an ambition. And that is the only thing you need to get started.
Sam Cawthorne here, CEO and founder of Speakers Institute. If you give me 60 seconds of your time, I'll show you how to set up an online webinar in 48 hours while growing your authentic followers to tens of thousands, and then teach you how to package your IP so they buy your programs online using what we call influence on video. What this means is you talk to camera, share your value, and then stack your offerings and create urgency in a way that makes it so irresistible that they click the button and purchase your high ticket sale. Talk with any of our clients globally, and I promise you will not find anyone that does what we do. All you have to do is to create, share your ideas, and then stack your offerings just like this. And here's the big secret. Everyone is online right now searching for people just like you to help them learn things that you already know. There are people doing it right now, but they probably don't know as much as you. So right now is your chance to learn how to sell online, and my influence on video formula is easy to use and foolproof for anyone to master. Just recently, I did a 1.5 hour video online to only 40 people, and at the end, 10 of them bought my $4,000 product, all by one click of the button. It was seamless. So if you want me to show you how to influence on video, stack your offerings that make it irresistible, learn my exact script so you can come across authentic and real, and create urgency so then they buy immediately, then click on the link below and join my free masterclass.
This is a Celebrity Authority Show. Please welcome your host, Sam Cawthorne.
Wow! Awesome interview we have planned for you guys today. SACHA LOUTKOVSKY, thought leader and consultant in leadership. And hey, first of all, I wanted to ask you about you. Where's that from?
It's a Russian, so my mum. So it makes for a combination. We're drinkers, thinkers, and potato eaters in my family. So there you go.
SACHA, thought leader and management consultant. Tell us more about the importance of leadership and management in tomorrow's world.
Yeah, so I guess that's my focus area. Is we're in this really pivotal time right now where, only sort of 300 years ago the Industrial Revolution happened, and sort of, humans have come out of this hunter-gatherer type mentality into the office, and everything is just going exponential in terms of thinking. I mean, the sharing economy is here now, automation is here now, monopolization of businesses is here now. So the old ways of thinking are not going to get us through the next 20, 30, 40 years. So we have to lay the foundations of the future of thinking now. And my focus is all around, mindful thinking, mindful leadership, and what that can do for a business.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, look, SACHA, really now curious about your journey for you to now come to this place of mindful thinking. Yeah,
look, it's I guess when someone sort of discovers a mindfulness journey, it has to do with some sort of key event in their life. Yeah. For me, it was a series of events. It was a long-term relationship breakdown, which caused me to really question where I was in my world, where I'm going and what's really important to me. And also, I run my own business, and there was a lot going on in the business at that stage that, again, I had to step back, reassess, work out where I was, and then make a plan to go forward. And for me, that was coming into myself.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, tell me more about the business that you were doing.
Yeah, so I'm director of a financial planning company. There are 8 of us all together, and it is actually a family business, which adds another layer of complexity to everything.
And then the pressures of that as well. So how did you navigate that pressure and navigate this whole journey of, as you say, you lost a partner and
Look, I mean, of course, there's the initial crisis, there's the initial reel back, which of course, you'd be familiar with. And then it was a matter of stepping into myself and tapping into, who am I and what drives me and how do I get centered? And I stumbled across mindfulness. Now, by nature, I'm a very energetic, very rational type thinker, very left brain sort of person. So for me, it's very woo-woo. I'm like, oh, this is going to be woo-woo. It's a bit too much. But I stuck it out. I stuck with a practice, and I found that it was integral in helping me to have a clear mind and make plans to execute.
So what is the practice of mindfulness? What exactly is that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I believe it's different for everyone. There are standard channels or accepted channels to mindfulness, which really are about, focusing on your breathing, getting centered within yourself. Visualization is another technique that can be very, very helpful in mindfulness. For me personally, I do a 10-minute practice every day. And even before coming on this show, for example, I was quickly doing a centering exercise just before coming on. Right. I've now tapped into what helps get me into a place of, creativity, because mindfulness really helps open up the creative side of your brain, which for me in terms of leadership is valuable. So for me now, I am very with my music. So I'll listen to some particular music that I know will get me in a mindful state. And for me also being outdoors and exploring that part of my life is really helps get me centered as well.
So this 10-minute mindfulness exercise that you do, do you do that in the car? Can you take us through it? What exactly is it?
So for me particularly, I wouldn't do it in the car because I do one with my eyes closed.
Right, so that's not going to work, yeah? No, unless you end up like me. Okay.
Or you're in an Uber, or something like that. Look, there are ones that are active mindfulness. For me, one that I'm going through at the moment is a focus exercise. Okay. So focusing on your breathing first, and then it's focusing on the centers of where energy sits.
And do you sit on the ground, cross-legged?
I know.
And then breathe. Give me a visual of your 10-minute one.
And you just perfectly illustrated my approach to mindfulness when I first started, which was I'm gonna have to sit there and be and chant. No, for me, I just find a comfortable place, sit there in a comfortable position, whatever works for you, and just then focus on your breathing. I do actually do a guided meditation. I use an app to help me with that, which is readily available for everyone.
What is the app? Are you allowed to say? Or?
I am, but I've just had a mental blank. I'm so sorry.
Okay. That's fine. So you listen to this music?
Yes. Oh, it's called Headspace. My apologies. Great. Headspace, yes. Right. So it's just a guided meditation. It's telling you to focus on your breathing, focus and be aware. Be aware of noises, what's going on. Be aware of how you feel in your body right now. And then the particular focus one is focusing on centers of energy and just letting that rest there and feel that for a moment before you move on to the next center. Yeah.
And what specifically does the outcome of that? What does that do for you?
Yeah.
It gives you a reality check? Or?
Yeah, so it gives me a reality check. It allows me to be centered. It allows me to open my mind. It really helps. That's exactly what it does, is it just takes away that layer of, I've got so much to do today. I've got this meeting. I've got this. This client has a question. I've got to call this person back. I'm on the go. When am I going to fit lunch in? All that sort of thing. And just opens up the mind to say, right, you know what? It's okay. Let's make a process. Let's work through it. It's all going to be fine as long as we are calm and can respond instead of reacting.
And we were chatting earlier on before we started the show about mindful reality. Tell me more about this concept, because I'm really curious now about it.
Yeah, so, like I alluded to earlier in the podcast, the show, so, we're living in this reality right now where our minds are full. There's so much stimulation. There's so much going on. We are bombarded by something like 50,000 advertisements a day. I can't quite remember if that's the actual number. And our minds are full. So what I'm suggesting is let's all take a step back, take a step in, and have a more mindful experience.
Great. So what's next for you? So will you continue on with your financial planning business and do some of this thing on the side, or are you going to get a book out? What's next for you?
Yeah, so of course I've still got my obligations and my duties to my clients and my business and my team, so that is still a passion of mine. And implementing mindful leadership and mindful business experiences for my whole team and the clients, and that's something that I have implemented, and it's always a work in progress. And that is the thing, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It is something you have to commit to. And so as a result of that, we have seen business growth, revenue growth, client engagement, go up in our business. I am currently putting together a book and then just sharing my message through various mediums with everyone.
That's great. So if there are people out there specifically that wanted to right now, they're going through a tough time, an adversity or crisis or whatever it is, now they want to engage this mindful reality. Would you suggest doing this 10-minute exercise or?
Look, I think it's a fantastic start, because I think with any sort of shift in mindset, if you're shifting from a difficult place and trying to find your way out of that, you have to make a commitment and recognise that I have to change something. And I can start with myself.
Great, that's awesome. Hi, Sasha, thank you so much for joining us here on the Celebrity Authority Show. Really, really love this interview, and also the tangible tools that you gave us as well. Hey, look though, before you leave, we with every single one of our celebrity guests, we have a challenge for them. Okay. So it's the 10 questions in 60-second challenge. So Sasha, do you accept the challenge?
Always.
All right, Sasha, your time starts now. Favourite colour?
Blue.
I love blue. Of course it is. Favourite food?
Japanese food.
Yeah, I love sushi. Yeah. Favourite celebrity?
Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss, he's great.
Yes,
10-hour work
so
week.
energised. Yeah, all over it.
4-hour work, yeah. Favourite actor?
Natalie Portman.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
Favourite professional speaker?
I actually saw Kurt Fernley speak recently, and he has a real presence and a real amazing story. Yeah.
Favourite book?
Harry Potter.
Very good. Favourite movie?
The Lion King.
The Lion King. Come on. Favourite city?
I do love New York. Got us, but I'm always Sydney. Yeah. I always come back here.
That's great. Favourite drink?
I do love a good coffee. Love a good coffee. Yeah.
Latte, cappuccino.
Skim latte with no sugar.
Skim latte, no sugar. Very nice. Favourite pizza topping?
Capriccioso. Which is
capriccio.
I don't even know. My Italian is terrible. It's terrible.
It worked. Sasha, and if you could be an animal, which animal would you be?
The golden eagle.
Oh, why's that?
The golden eagle is native to Mongolia. 2 reasons. So the golden eagle, they're huge birds. I've held one on my arm and I could not even hold my arm up. They are that heavy. They've got the largest wingspan. Yeah. They're just so precise. They pick something, they go for it, they execute it. They own their space.
Yeah,
and I guess the other reason is my parents, in their hippie days, bless them, which is probably why I like mindfulness, they named me in a particular way, so my initials actually spell sail, S-A-I-L. And so the bird, constantly sailing, to give your gift and keep on spreading it.
Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you for having
Celebrity Authority.
Have you ever felt that you're not fit for work? Have you ever felt that you're not fit for life? You don't belong. You're not getting through life. You can't find your purpose. Have you been there?
I've come to the Speakers Institute trying to connect to the public and get over public speaking. I would highly recommend Speakers Institute to anybody from the medical profession, working in hospitals, clinics, trying to get your voice across, or learning to speak in conferences, workshops, and trying to be the inspirational presenter, leader in your workplace. This deep, dark hole which pulled me deeper and deeper inside. And you know how it felt? How it felt down there? It felt so dark, it was so lonely. It was cold. I just couldn't get out of this dark hole, and it pulled me deeper and deeper. I had financial issues, I had social issues, and I just lost myself.
I really feel that this new chapter for you has been birthed at this moment at this boot camp. I do see you as a speaker. I see you as an international speaker, and I believe today is the day that you have launched yourself as a speaker.
Our final TENx speaker for 2020 is also known as the Gritty Girl. She believes that long-term success is born from the tiny rituals and actions you take on a daily basis. A survivor of poverty, abuse, and trauma, she is passionate about helping people to own their inner gifts and offer them to the world by taking gritty action. As a serial entrepreneur and wordsmith, her mission is to empower people to rise by igniting a gritty mindset to get things done. Today, she will share with us the clues that peppered her own journey and showed her how to ignite grit. Get ready to get gritty with the one and only Gritty Girl, Dee Kanduja.
How many of us have tried to achieve something, but for some reason we haven't achieved our goals? Okay, I have found that what determines whether we'll be successful or not lies with igniting our inner grit. So the dictionary defines grit as having courage plus resolve, but I define grit as taking action despite the obstacle. Research shows us that grit is a significant indicator for success. And grit researcher Angela Duckworth found that when it comes to talented people versus grittier people tend to be more successful. So the good news is we don't need to be talented to be successful. Good, right? So then how do we ignite our grit to be successful? I'm the daughter of Indian immigrants who grew up in an extremely racist, violent, and hostile neighborhood in the UK called Basingstoke. Is anyone here from Basingstoke? Or has anyone been to Basingstoke? Don't admit it. You shouldn't put your hands up. I keep it quiet. So we owned a grocery shop and we lived on top of this shop. And right next to our shop was a pub that was full of drunk, racist gang members who would terrorize my family for over a decade. They would smash our windows, they would steal our stock, threaten us with violence, and graffiti our walls with things like "Paki, go home," which I always found really weird because A, I'm not from Pakistan, and B, I was already home. I hated being brown-skinned. To me, as long as I was brown, I wasn't safe. I would literally be in the bath and I would try and scrub my brownness off as a child. And as you can tell, I was not very successful. When I was 8, something happened to me. I was in the playground with my brother, and a group of around 5 girls, a few years older than me, entered the playground. And you know that sinking feeling that you get in your stomach, that pit, when you know something isn't right? I had that. And they started to circle me. And then one of them grabs my hair and pulls me to the ground. And they begin a savage attack. They're kicking me, punching me, and spitting on me. I remember looking up to find my brother, and I see him running off in the distance to get help. And in that moment, I'm alone. And I'm terrified. And they grab my hair, pull me back up. Two of them hold me back, and one of them sprays my eyes with a deodorant. Momentarily, I'm blinded by the chemical burn in my eyes. But for a lifetime, I've not been able to forget that sickly deodorant smell. I thought that there was some kind of invisible color-coded system in the world where brown people are ranked right at the bottom. Immediately after that incident, I became extremely frightened and withdrew myself. I created a self-made prison for myself at home where I wouldn't leave my bedroom, let alone my home, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I felt like giving up. Can you imagine an 8-year-old girl wanting to give up on life for being born the wrong color? I would stare out of my window, peep through the curtains, and I'd watch the kids playing downstairs, and I really wanted to play with them, but I was too scared to go out. But I knew that if I wanted to play again, I had to have courage. And so I made a plan. I decided I would go out and play. But this time, if they said something to me, I wouldn't stay silent. And if they threw stones at me, I'd throw one back. And even though I was really scared, I wouldn't show it to them. And so with this plan, I went out. And something fascinating happened. I started to challenge them to games of running competitions and games of marbles because I was really good at both. And I started to beat them. And then their respect for me grew and they wanted to be my friend. I mean, who doesn't want to be friends with the best marble player in the neighborhood? And so the first thing that you need to ignite grit is courage. What is it that you need to be courageous about today? Fast forward 2007, I land on the shores of Singapore to launch a business right at the start of the global recession. Not a good time to start a business, peeps. But anyhow, we take that business from 0 to a 7-figure entity within 3 years. And on the outside, things are going really well, and I'm at the pinnacle of financial success. But back home, my marriage was in trouble. I remember breastfeeding my baby son, and he was fussing at the breast. And my daughter was screaming for attention, for my attention at my feet. And my phone was pinging and pinging and pinging with messages because there was some problem in the office. And I just remember feeling completely overwhelmed and not knowing who or what to deal with first. And my husband was out that night, as he often was in those days. And it dawned on me that for the last 11 years, we had become estranged. His emotional and physical absence, coupled with my mental overload, had created this black pit in our marriage where I lived on one side and he lived on the other, and we simply coexisted as strangers. And so in 2015, I took a decision. I took a decision that I was going to leave my marriage and be a single mother of 2 kids. I decided that I couldn't raise my kids in a toxic environment where respect and equality were missing. And so the second thing that you need to ignite grit is not to get divorced, okay? But to make a decision. What is it that you need to break free from today? Only a decision can free you. After the separation, I spiraled very quickly into what I can only describe to you as a dark pit of despair. I had become extremely anxious and was having panic attacks and fear over how I was going to raise these 2 young kids by myself in one of the world's most expensive countries. I'd gone from being this high-flying, gritty entrepreneur who could solve any problem to this broken single mother of 2 kids, self-medicating on alcohol, parenting on autopilot, who couldn't even get herself out of bed. Every small decision was difficult for me to make. And I sat there in that pit for 2 years, having a pity party for one. I was looking for external solutions to what was an internal narrative problem. Until I asked myself a new question. I said, Dee, what do you care about? What do you care about? And the answer came. I care about my kids. I care about equality. I care about those who don't have a voice. I care about helping women rise. I care about not wanting my daughter to grow up in a world where she's paid less than my son for doing the same work. Once I knew what I cared about, it was enough to ignite my grit to get myself out of that pit, because there were bigger things that needed attention. You can't get gritty about things you don't care about. People ask me all the time, how do you become gritty? And I tell them, first, you need courage. Second, you need to make a decision. And third, you need to deeply explore what it is you care about. So what is it today that you need to be courageous about? What is it that you need to make a decision on before you leave those doors? What do you need to break free from? And what is it that you deeply, unapologetically care about? Once you know, you too can ignite grit. Thank you.
Wow, what a powerful delivery. Dee can do job.
Want to learn the blueprint to putting it together a TED Talk or a highly paid keynote presentation, or maybe you're about to do a pitch or do a proposal? Then this video is for you. Hey guys, Sam Cawthorne here, CEO and founder of Speakers Institute. In this video, I'm going to share with you our authority communication framework. I've been a professional speaker now for 15 years, spoken in over 40 countries, and this is the actual blueprint that I use to speak on stage in front of audiences of up to 20,000 people. It's also the framework that we teach a lot of our TED speakers, or those people that go on to write international best-selling books, or maybe you just simply want to get a highly paid keynote presentation. This is the blueprint here. So my encouragement here for you is to write this down and get really familiar with this framework, which is called the authority communication framework. So let's get started. The very first thing is this: if you want to win people's attention, whether that's virtually, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many, you must address their problem straight up. They don't care about your ideas, they don't care about your story, they don't care about your product or your message or whatever. All they care about is their pain point and their problem. Address their pain point, address their problem, and they will give you their attention. The very next thing is, after you've exaggerated their problem, then you go straight into a solution for their problem, which is such as your idea. So your idea is basically the solution to their problem. Now, in all reality, when they listen to your solution for their problem, they're going to be skeptics. And so if they're going to be skeptics, ultimately you need to connect with their head first. So you need to give them evidence to show that your idea is the solution to their problem. Now that you've connected with the head and you've given them stats, facts, case study, research, etc., now that you've connected with your head, now it makes sense to them. However, just because something has made sense doesn't necessarily mean they're going to actually take action. Doesn't mean they're going to take out their wallet or actually do what you've suggested, which then means you now need to learn how to evoke emotion into the listener. Now, as you know, human beings, we are hardwired through stories. So ultimately, we need to share a story to show that the idea is the solution to their problem. You need to get their gut connected. So basically, that story needs to be a metaphor. Now, as I was saying, is a story that evokes emotion to show that the idea is the solution to their problem. Now that you've actually got their gut connected, now they're ready to buy. Now they're ready to take action on your idea. So ultimately, you need to finish here with a call to action, a CTA, which stands for a call to action. What is your call to action? Is it the 3 steps to help you to the 5 secret ingredients, the 7-step formula, the 9 principles? And by the way, we learn in odd numbers rather than even numbers, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the bottom line here is your call to action is exactly teaching them how they can buy your product, how they can catch what you've already caught, or so on and so forth. So now, as you can see, we are halfway through. I'm now going to give you individual sentences in and around this. And one of the main reasons is this. Our attention spans today are shorter than any other time in history. So the greatest way to win people's attention is basically getting rid of all the noise, all the words that shouldn't be there, and be short and sharp. The media call it sound bites. So this authority communication framework here can either be done in sound bites, such as a 3-minute talk, or a 1-hour keynote presentation, or an 18-minute TED Talk, or maybe an entire blog. But it totally does depend, but here are some suggestions for some sentences. So under problem is this: have you ever felt? Do you know we do everything for how it makes us feel? We dress for how it makes us feel, we watch videos for how it makes us feel, we do everything for how it makes us feel. So then suddenly, someone comes up to you and says, have you ever felt this? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, yes, I've felt it. Now, if you're exaggerating the problem, they're now thinking, give me the antidote then. Give me the solution. So then you say, then I have found that. So again, I have found that my idea, I have found that my product is the solution to your problem, yeah? So now they're skeptical, they're thinking this is your solution to my problem. They're now thinking, prove it to me. So then you then say, research tells us that. Again, we're giving evidence. Research tells us that my idea is the solution to your problem. Here's some stats, facts, research, whatever it might be. Now that you've connected with their head, now you have to connect with their gut, with their heart, which then means you need to share a story. You need to learn how to evoke emotion. I like this one. Look at this. Ready? The next one is this. There was this one time when. Yeah, so we want to hear a story. We want to hear a journey. We want to hear an experience that you've actually experienced, yeah? So there was this one time when I saw someone that had the same problem as you, and once they implemented our idea, now evidence shows that, yeah? So basically what I did there, I did a metaphor showcasing the top 3 in its chronological order. So the metaphor, there was this one time when I had the problem just like you. I then implemented this idea, and now we've got evidence to show that we've had a turnaround, yeah? Really, really cool way of setting up your hero's journey, that story. Last one here is a call to action. So your call to action here is basically the how-to, yeah? I like this one. Write this one down if you can. Today I want to show you how to. So today I want to show you the 3 ways how to. Today I want to show you how you can buy our product, our services, or whatever it might be. Guys, we have found that this authority communication framework is one of the most powerful ways to influence anyone, to get them across the line, to get them to take action on how to influence them and ultimately get them to take out their wallet or take action on an idea or a message that you have for them. This ACF, the Authority Communication Framework, can either be written form or verbal form. Can either be done through a 1 or 3 minute video up to a 1 hour or a 2 hour workshop. This can even be put together inside an actual book as well. It's a brilliant framework. You guys will love it, get really familiar with it, and ultimately you will be able to go out there and make more of a difference in the world, both commercially but also impact them in a positive way. We'd love to see you here at one of our programs here at Speakers Institute, and do not forget, the best is yet to come. We'll see you soon. guys, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode here at Speakers TV. My name is Sam Cawthorn and we are super excited about Speakers TV and about these episodes that we bring to you every single weekday as well as also on every single Saturday. Guys, we'd love to hear from you. If you've got any feedback at all for us, or maybe you want to comment right now in the chat bar about what was your biggest takeaway from today's session. But also not only that, why don't you join us? So here at Speakers Institute, we do have a number of programs such as our online boot camps or our protege program. At Speakers Tribe here, we're all about running these big, large annual conferences every year. But also not only that, there is an annual membership that you can get where in your city we do have tribe gatherings, all really encouraging you going from where you are today to where you really want to be. Or maybe you want to tell your friends and your family about Speakers TV. But can I please encourage you, why don't you like this page? Why don't you join us each day? Why don't you tell other people about these episodes? Because we are all about really helping you on this journey to becoming that recognized voice of authority, for you to find your message and your story and get that out there into the world. We are super excited about your journey, so please lean in and join us today. To your success, my name is Sam Cawthorn, and don't forget, the best is yet to come.